Okay, turned off that damn music. Peace to the family. Uh, we're live. What happened? It seemed to freeze. Give us a second. Great. Hey, Morpheus, how you doing today?
Hey, what's up, bro? How you doing, man? Busy
Yeah,
day, man. You know.
yeah. Always an interesting, busy day for me. Morpheus, we had a great show yesterday. I took the show down because I think that we could do it better. So yesterday was kind of like an introductory. So anybody that's joining us, welcome to Africa Online TV. Brother Reggie, and this is my co-host, Mr. Morpheus, and we have a topic.
Let me get my headphones. Go ahead.
That's fine. We have a topic that is really devastating to ancient uh, religions, particularly the religion that we African Americans were converted to. And we are having this issue in America, this conversation and these debates about, what was our original religion and what's the best religion and is this religion for us? And about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a story that broke, and I didn't pay much attention to it, but it was a story about usage of plants in ancient Israel that early Yahwehs used uh, for hallucinogenic purposes. And so we've been having this
Okay.
conversation whether or not the Bible. Uh, first, we would
Okay.
yes. Can you hear me? Great. So we was having this conversation in our
Yes.
community about whether uh, the Bible is real. Now we have a rug on this conversation as to, well, it's problematic if they was using hallucinogens. So there's a two problem. One, those people trying to prove that these things in the Bible occurred as it's written in the Bible. And two, we find out that there were hallucinogens. So yesterday was part one, and we began this conversation. And then we looked at some of the material, and Morpheus says, "Hey, Reg, do you know what DMT is? Do you know we know some of the chemicals in which they use for hallucinogenic purposes, but we found out that there were others, right? That's even as devastating or more devastating. So let me just say hello to everybody. So tonight, I think that you're really going to enjoy this show. Judah Nazareth, peace to you. Y'all was crackheads in Kemet. There's my Hebrew brother right there. He was saying that we were crackheads in Kemet. I love it. I love it. Let me put it on the big screen. There's Pan African Designs. Peace to you, my good brother. I got to get on some more programs when you're on. Right? We're missing our schedules. Solomonic TV. Peace to you, my brother Joey, always throwing in a rub. I saw you on Titans. I saw your show on Titans and TV. You survived. You did. You survived. Judah Nazareth. But y'all was doing cocaine in Kemet. We wasn't doing that. Um, there's no cocaine in Kemet. It's another substance, maybe cat or something like that has some similar properties. But we have hard evidence that the ancient Israelites, Hebrews, those that believe in Yahweh, y'all were using hallucinogens.
Yeah. Why? But why are we pivoting or trying to pivot to Kemet? We're
Oh,
not talking about Kemet. right? Why are we trying to pivot the conversation? You know what I mean? To
Judah
kill it.
Nazareth is my friend. So
No,
more,
no, 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 no. I like Judas Netherlands. He's cool, but I'm just saying I don't want to pivot to like that's like saying, the conversation is well, you too, you did it too. You know,
well,
I don't want to do that type of conversation.
well, we have to entertain him. At least he came on the show, and he's a good scholar. I appreciate his work. Right?
Who's that? Talk about Judith?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
entertain
but yeah,
Judah.
no, but I don't want to. I don't want to see. I don't want to pivot off what someone else is doing.
Oh
Right
no,
when
no.
we want to, when we want to talk about Kemet or Mesopotamia, then we'll talk about Mesopotamia or Kemet. But we're not talking about anybody else. We're literally focusing on this subject, not Kemet, not Mesopotamia, not nobody else. We're just talking about this.
Got you. So what I'm gonna do is let's begin. I think I got almost everybody that was in the chat. I said hello to, except for Christoph Heretic. I want to say thank you for joining again. You are funny. I appreciate you. So let's start this. So let's get the evidence out, and then let's see where it goes. So here we go. Share screen. Let's just get the evidence out. How y'all like that? That sounds good. All right. So here it goes right here.
No, wait, let's not do that. Not yet, please.
Okay.
All right,
Cash.
Let's first break down three things. Can we do that before we go to that? Let's
You're gonna
let's
leave me.
get let's get clear on what three chemicals that I would like to talk about tonight. One of them is THC, so that we all understand what THC is. We want to understand or be clear on what CBD is, and we want to understand what DMT is, right? That makes sense?
Yeah. So these chemicals were found in the
No, no, no,
alter.
no. Let's not talk about where it was found first. Let's just talk about what they are. Let's get clarity. Hopefully, can we get clarity of what they are, what those substances are, and what are the properties of them? Like, what do they do? You know what I mean? And then we could talk about where they were found.
Okay. Wonderful. So um, let's pick THC. What is
Yes,
THC?
right. So, I don't have access to my screen, my computer, so because I'm somewhere else. Can you pull up THC? Pull up
I
each one of these things.
I sure can.
This is just so we all on the same page of um, what they are.
Okay. Okay. So these substances. So let me just pull up Google. Let's just start with Google. Let's pull up Google. Where did it
Yes.
go? I don't know where it went. Sorry. So I got to minimize this. Right. Let's see where it went. Okay, great. Maximize this. And so we are going to Google share screen and entire screen. Okay, great. Okay, so the screen is shared, and let me just blow it up. So the first chemical, what's the first chemical we're gonna do? THC.
You,
Which one's
yeah,
the
you could
first
type
one?
in all three of them. You could type all three of them. You could put THC slash CBD slash DMT, and all three of them will come up on the same page.
And what's, and what's the last one?
DMT.
DMT.
Hmm.
Ooh. Okay. So what do we have here? These are psychedelic dose. Let me see if it's going to give me the PDF. All right. Okay, so preparing to download. Psychedelic? Are you serious? What
Hmm.
was psychedelic? Okay. Okay. So psychedelic, so this is from the NIH, right? Uh, so this is a peer-reviewed document. Psychedelic experience dose dependently modulated by cannabis results of prospective online survey. Classic psychedelics are currently being studied as novel treatments for a range of psychiatric disorders. However, research on how psychedelics interact with other psychoactive substances remains scarce. So that's what they want to talk about. So they're talking about the mixing. So let's see if they give me a proper definition, right? So let me just type, okay. So psychedelics are now being extensively researched with respect to their potential usage in clinical settings as additional to psychotherapy. Okay, so they're investigating it. So now I'm going to just type in CBD. I'm just going to type in CBD, right, and see if they give me a definition of that. Okay, so give me a second. F. So CBD. Okay. Two key chemical constituents of cannabis are THC and cannabidiol. And while most of their effects are believed to be exerted through cannabinoid type 1 and type 2 receptors, several studies have also suggested they interact with serotonin receptors, right? Previous animal works reports that CBD facilitates this 5-HT1A receptor mediated neurotransmission, which can lead to an increase of 5. Okay, so let me see what else they talk about CBD. Okay. Okay. Recent work in humans corroborates their finding and show that at high concentrations, CBDs act as an inverse agonist on 5-HT1 receptors. So it's not, how can I say, it has effects. In rodents, so in addition to other constituents of cannabis, CBD has been reported to facilitate. So this is the very top level stuff. Okay, so
Right. Right.
this this is not okay. So let me go out of here and just see if I can just get a quick search. That's why I wanted to do it one by one. All right. So let's just say THC. Okay, THC stands for So here's a more detailed breakdown. So we're just going to do THC stands for tetrahydrocannabinol, the primary psychoactive compound in cannabis. It's formed with tetrahydrocannabinolic acid. Undergoes so now what else? Here's a more according to Wikipedia. So THC is responsible for the high associated with cannabis use. So you get the high from cannabis, but through the THC,
That's
right?
correct.
And other cannabinoids. Besides THC, cannabis also contains cannabinoids like cannabidiol, CBD, which are believed to have different effects. Side effects: THC can cause various side effects, including red eyes, dry mouth, drowsiness, short-term memory impairment, anxiety, paranoia, and in some cases, psychosis. So THC can cause psychosis, right? Then there's chronic use. So let's just go to Wikipedia to see what else does it say. So it's a psychoactive compound. It has some side effects, right? It can cause paranoia, right? And it's there's the side effects, and then chronic use can cause lots of problems, right? But people use it all the time. Then there's an overdose. The medium lethal dose of THC in humans is not fully known, as there are conflicting evidence, of course, body weight and all that other type of stuff, right? But you can have an overdose of it. Interactions, pharmaceutical mechanisms of action for the action of THC results from its partial agonist activity at the cannabinoid receptor, blah, blah, blah. THC is a lipophilic molecule and may bind to a variety of entities in the brain and body, such as adipose tissue. THC, as well as other cannabinoids that contain a phenol group. So we know that it can bind with other with body parts, right, and other substances. And so what else do they say about this, right? Oral, okay, you could take it orally, and then there's elimination, and then, okay. So, but it can cause psychosis, right? And so let's go to the other one, right? Let's go to the other one. So let's go back. Let's search here. And what's the other one?
CBD? DMT.
Well, that's the last one. So CBD is a little softer, right?
Yeah, CBD has medical benefits. CBD
Okay.
oil. Yeah, so there's a benefit in the CBD oil. A lot of times people will take the oil without the THC in it. They're just sort of just give me the CBD part without the THC. You know what I mean? So people who have cancer and different things will take, to help a counter of if they're on chemotherapy or things like that. So the CBD is the medicinal benefit. The THC part is not, right, but the CBD is does have benefits. So a lot of times
Okay.
they get them separate.
Okay. But to separate them, how are they separated? You need, can you separate them naturally, or do you need some, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Do you need to separate it in some type of lab form?
To my understanding, some type of lab way, unless there's another way that I'm not aware of. I'm not a technician or engineer, but yeah, but I do know that those are two different chemical compounds. And as you just read, you understand the principle and the function of THC and the principal function of CBD.
Okay. So the last one is DMT.
That's the grand, yeah. That's the Marabunda we want to check out.
Okay. So DMT, we skipped over it in the last video, also known as N-dimethyl tryptamine. DMT is a serotonergic hallucinogen, serotonergic hallucinogen, and investigation drug of the tryptamine family that occurs naturally in many plants and animals, including humans. DMT is used as a psychedelic drug and prepared by various cultures for ritual purposes as an entheogen, right? DMT has a rapid onset, intense effects, and relatively short duration of action. For those reasons, DMT was known as the businessman's trip during the 1960s in the United States, as a user could access the full depth of psychedelic experience in considerably less time than with other substances such as LSD or psilocybin mushrooms. So psilocybin mushrooms. DMT can be inhaled or injected, and effects depend on the dose as well as the mode of administration. When inhaled or injected, the effects last for about 5 to 15 minutes. Effects can last 3 hours or more when orally ingested, along with monoamine oxidase inhibitor, right? The mayo, such as ayahuasca brew of many Native and Amazonian tribes.
Yeah, ayahuasca.
The ayahuasca, thank you so much. I missed that. The ayahuasca. DMT induces intense, often indescribable subjective experiences involving vivid visual hallucinations, altered sensory perceptions, ego dissolution, and encounters with seemingly autonomous entities. What are you talking about, More? If I take DMT, I can see God?
Yeah, man. Every everybody who goes on the DMT experience, all the experiences all explain seeing entities, gods, demons, angels. You know, they all experience those same things. All of them.
That's crazy. So, but why are we talking about? Can I ask you a question? Why
Hmm.
why are we talking about um, CBD, THCs, and DMTs? Why are we talking about this more?
Because in 2016, I believe it was 2016, archaeologists did some research and they found these three compounds or these three chemicals in a Jewish temple in the altars. Am I correct?
In Telerad, as one of
Hmm.
the temples that they allow people to actually do research in, right? They found these altar, and on one side of it was cannabis cannabis being burnt over dung, which is waste. We don't. I don't. I have a friend of mine. He told me that these early Levant people may have been using the dung of cows, but more probably the dung of pigs. But nevertheless, the dung from was it allows a slow burn, and then on top of that, you put the cannabis when you light the dung on fire, and then that slow process releases the vape, the smoke. And Morpheus, I probably want to say right now, it releases the holy smoke, right?
Holy shit! Holy shit!
Right, right. The holy smoke from the holy shit, right? Now,
Oh,
so, yeah, and it's covered up with frankincense, but frankincense has its own properties. And so, in the temple, between the priest and the followers in the area of the holies holies, this is kind of released. And so, I guess what you're talking about is that these properties that you were talking about, this mayo, all of these type of properties, they're released and they give you strong hallucinogenic effects where you may believe that there's a deity.
yeah, exactly,
Holy shit!
exactly.
Holy
Yeah.
shit! So we got wow, we got a lot of holies here. We got holy smoke. We got holy shit. Uh, wow. Later, I guess we're talking about the burning bush. All these metaphors, clouds, right? Entities, all of this stuff is kind of released by the usage of this ritual, and they use it as a ritual. So now, what I'm going to do is we're going to come back to it. We're going to come back to it. But why don't you? Let's listen to my let's see my video, and then we can pick it apart. Okay, you got your popcorn, everybody. What we're doing is holy smoke, holy shit, right? Like these chemicals are being released in the creation of concepts around Yahweh, right? And Wow. And we're going to explore that, right? And it's really problematic because before people were saying, is the early Bible things true, right? And we're going to take it on faith that it's divine. Now we find that possibly it wasn't a divine interaction, it was a chemically induced action. And so some of this, when you bring in hallucinogens, I don't have to prove anything. What I have just to tell you that these early ritual people were hallucinating, right? It was part of their ritual. And that becomes really problematic when we have all of these like great epic stories of like Enoch and all of these concepts of Isaiah and all of these parts of what you call the Hebrew text, the Torah and the Tanakh, that some of them may have come about because of not of a divine experience, but of priests trying to seek exposure to God by using these chemicals. And so, wow, I got holy smoke. I got holy shit from the dung. I got Holy Ghost. Because one of those entities can be a ghost, right?
Hey, yeah. All you got to do is you can go on YouTube and just type in DMT experiences, and you can watch people's testimonies from doctors, neuroscience, neuroscientists, psychologists, and other people, laymen who've used DMT, right, and experienced, and they all describe the common denominator is that they would see different entities and different gods, as they call them, different gods, entities, demons, all kinds of different hallucinogenic experiences.
This is really interesting. I would say that because now, when this is paired with actual faith and visions, it becomes problematic again that this is chemical, that some of these are chemically induced, right?
Yeah. And what's funny about it is DMT is known as the spirit molecule. That's what they call
the
it.
spirit molecule. So wow, we got holy moly, we got holy shit, we got Holy Ghost, we got what else do we have? The spirit molecule.
Yeah. Google that DMT spirit molecule and watch what comes up.
Well, I will do it. And then we got the burning bush, right? I mean, wow, burning bush, that seems hallucinogenic right there, right? Mm-hmm. And what else do we got? So wow. And we got clouds. Oh, clouds. So let's listen to my video. It's about 8-9 minutes long, and then we're gonna come back and pick it out. But what I wanted to do is try to do a more professional show than yesterday when we just unpacking it. So here we go.
The ancient Hebrews used cannabis and entheogens at the start of their religions. Does it matter? It should, if you are trying to prove your faith. Recent archaeological and scientific discoveries have significantly challenged traditional understandings of early Yahweh worship in ancient Israel and Judah. The identification of psychoactive substances, particularly cannabis, in ritual contexts at sites such as Tel Arad, provides compelling evidence that entheogenic experiences, altered states of consciousness induced by psychoactive plants, were integral to official cultic practices. This paper synthesizes archaeological findings, textual analysis, and expert commentary to argue that the foundational experiences and beliefs of early Yahweh worshippers were shaped and at times generated by deliberate entheogen consumption. These insights call into question the historical reliability of early Yahweh accounts as literal fact and demand a reevaluation of the origins and nature of Israelite religion. Counterarguments, including apologetic justifications, are addressed and systematically dismantled in light of current evidence. For centuries, the history of Yahweh worship has been reconstructed from biblical texts, interpreted as records of divine revelation and communal memory. However, the discovery of cannabis and other psychoactive substances in ancient Israelite temples has introduced a disruptive dimension to this narrative. The evidence suggests that the ecstatic and visionary experiences at the core of early Yahweh worship were not solely the result of spiritual devotion or divine intervention, but were often chemically induced through ritual use of entheogens. Ari et al., 2020. Discovery and analysis. A landmark study in 2020 documented the first known case of cannabis use in the ancient Near East in connection to Judahite worship. Residue from 2 altars excavated from an 8th century BCE shrine at Tel Arad, about 35 miles south of Jerusalem, was analyzed using advanced chemical techniques. The larger altar contained remnants of frankincense, while the smaller altar contained residues of cannabinoids such as D9-tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, cannabidiol, CBD, and cannabinol, CBN, the psychoactive compounds found in cannabis. Ari et al., 2020. The cannabis was burned atop dried animal dung, which burns at a relatively low temperature optimal for vaporizing cannabinoids. This method demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of how to release the mind-altering properties of cannabis, indicating its intentional and ritualized use. Namdar and Ari, 2020. Cultic context. The Tel Arad Shrine was a state-sponsored, officially sanctioned sanctuary of the Kingdom of Judah, with structural similarities to the biblical temple in Jerusalem. The shrine's inner sanctum, or Holy of Holies, housed the 2 limestone altars where the psychoactive and aromatic substances were discovered. The deliberate preparation and placement of these substances underscore their central role in cultic rituals. Ari et al., 2020. Frankincense, a highly valued imported resin, was likely brought via South Arabian trade routes, while cannabis may have been imported from regions as far away as southeastern Russia or China. Namdar and Ari, 2020. Ritual function and intent. Cannabis was not used incidentally or medicinally, but as a deliberate psychoactive to stimulate ecstasy as part of cultic ceremonies. The method of burning cannabis with dung, the separation of frankincense and cannabis on different altars, and the sophisticated knowledge of how to induce a high all point to a ritual system designed to produce altered states of consciousness among priests and possibly worshippers. Namdar and Ari, 2020. The Tel Arad Shrine is a scaled-down version of the biblical descriptions of the first temple in Jerusalem and was contemporaneous with it. Because the remains of the Jerusalem temple are inaccessible to archaeologists, Tel Arad and similar shrines are studied to infer the practices of the larger central temple. The findings at Tel Arad strongly suggest that similar rituals involving psychoactive substances may have taken place at the Jerusalem temple itself. Ari et al., 2020. Entheogens in world religions. The use of psychoactive substances in religious rituals is well documented across cultures and throughout history. Psychedelics, including psilocybin mushrooms and cannabis, have been central features in shamanic and pre-modern ritual practices worldwide, used to induce spiritual presence, visions, and perceived transformation. Ruck et al. In 2001. Entheogens in ancient Israelite religion. Scholars have identified the plants likely found in Old Testament rituals, such as manna, showbread, the holy ointment, and tabernacle incense, as entheogenic agents. The psychoactive significance of these preparations enabled the priestly caste to have direct experiences of their god, with plant synergisms deliberately employed to produce entheogenic experiences. Ruck et al., 2001. Moses himself has been interpreted as an entheogenic shaman, with features of his encounters, such as the burning bush, suggesting possible use of psychoactive plants, Ruck et al., 2001. Biblical references to entheogens. Kanebosom. Traditionally translated as calamus, this term appears in Exodus 30:23 as an ingredient in the holy anointing oil. Some scholars argue it refers to cannabis, whose psychoactive properties were harnessed in ritual anointing and incense, Ruck et al., 2001. Frankincense, repeatedly mentioned as a key ingredient in incense offerings in the temple, Exodus 30:34, Leviticus 2:1-2. Its presence alongside cannabis at Tel Arad confirms its ritual use, Ari et al. Shaks 2020. Mandrake, a plant with hallucinogenic properties mentioned in Genesis 30:14-16 as a fertility aid, hinting at its ritual significance, Ruck et al. 2001. Prophetic and priestly visions. Biblical passages describe priests and prophets experiencing ecstatic states, often interpreted as visions or direct encounters with the divine. For example, Isaiah 28:7-8 critiques priests who reel in vision from strong drink, suggesting that altered states of consciousness were a recognized aspect of religious life, Ruck et al., 2001. Apologetic claim 1. Entheogens were medicinal, not ritual. The discovery of cannabis residues on altars in Tel Arad's Holy of Holies confirms their ritual, not medicinal use. The cannabis was mixed with animal dung to optimize slow burning and inhalation, a method designed to induce psychoactive effects. Medicinal use would not explain its placement in a restricted cultic space or its deliberate preparation for inhalation. Namdar and Ari, 2020. Apologetic claim 2. The Bible condemns intoxication. While passages critique abuse, such as Isaiah 28:7-8, these criticisms target excess, not regulated ritual use. The Tel Arad shrine was an official state sanctuary, implying its practices were sanctioned. The Hebrew Bible lacks explicit prohibitions against entheogens in worship, and references to kanebosom suggest psychoactive ingredients were integral to holy rituals. Ruck et al. 2001. Apologetic claim. Altered states undermine spiritual authenticity. In antiquity, entheogens were seen as sacred tools to transcend ordinary consciousness. The divine encounters described in Scripture, burning bushes, heavenly chariots, and prophetic visions, may reflect pharmacologically facilitated experiences, not objective miracles. Ruck et al., 2001. Apologetic claim. Tel Arad is an outlier. Tel Arad's shrine was a state-sponsored temple modeled after Jerusalem's first temple, indicating its practices were mainstream. Comparative evidence from the broader Near East reinforces this, with other psychoactive plants such as acacia, containing DMT, and mandrake also used in ritual contexts. Ruck et al., 2001. The use of hallucinogens shifts the paradigm of divine revelation from supernatural intervention to human-engineered experience. If Yahweh's presence was accessed through psychoactive rituals, it implies that divine encounters were facilitated by human action, not granted by divine grace alone. The Bible's silence on entheogens likely reflects later redactions during reforms that sought to erase practices deemed heterodox. Ruck et al. And 2001. The integration of cannabis and other entheogens into early Yahweh worship fundamentally challenges the factual basis of Israelite religious history as traditionally understood. Archaeological, textual, and anthropological evidence converge to reveal that ecstatic and visionary experiences at the heart of early Yahweh worship were often induced by psychoactive substances. Counter-arguments based on biblical silence, presumed prohibition, apologetic rationalizations, or claims of isolated practice do not withstand scrutiny. This realization compels scholars to reevaluate the origins of Israelite religion, recognizing that its foundational beliefs and narratives may be better understood as products of ritualized, chemically facilitated encounters with the divine, rather than as literal historical events. Airy et al., 2020, Ruck et al., 2001. The new evidence from Arad shows for the first time that the official cult of Judah, at least during the 8th century BC, involved hallucinogenic ingredients. This was not a fringe practice, but a state-sanctioned ritual. Der Eranarie, keywords: Yahweh, Telerad, cannabis, entheogens, apologetics, revelation, ritual, hallucination. References: Ari E., Namdar D., and colleagues. 2020. Cannabis use in Israelite worship. Journal of the Institute of Archaeology of Tel Aviv University. Ruck, CAP, Bigwood, J, Staples D, Ott J, and Wasson, RG, 2001. Entheogens in the Old Testament. Journal of Psychedelic Studies, 324360.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
That was a lot to unpack. Let me stop sharing the screen.
Yeah.
Let me share the screen. So Mark, I'm gonna give you a start at this, right? I just gotta call somebody right back. It's my former wife's birthday, and I just have to make a quick call. So,
Wow.
Isn't that a lot?
I said that was good. That was in depth. And we gave you references that you can research, that you can look up, and you could see that this is not my argument. This is not Reggie's argument. This is not us. This is not our research. We're not the ones that did it. We're just presenting to you people what it is, what the latest research is, and what's going on. We just presenting that to you and showing you what it is. Okay?
Yeah. And before I leave, wow, we got a new term, potty mouth. I guess you could get potty mouth inhaling the dung. Like they put this on. They were smart enough to get a slow burn, right? And instead of putting it on a food substance, I hope they knew better than that because they have cleanliness issues. But whatever it is, they put it on a slow burn as fuel so that they can get high. So we have these terms, and I'm just gonna make a quick call. But we have the most high, the most high,
The Most High. The word, the term, the Most High takes on a different meaning, right?
all
The
of these,
look, the High Priest, right? The
the
High Priest.
high priest, right? The Holy Ghost, right? The spirit molecule. We're gonna talk about that a little later. I'm gonna pull that up.
Yep.
Holy moly, burning bush, right? All of these things take on a whole new concept when some of these things actually appear in the Bible, like the burning bush, right? Like these types kind of like hallucinogen. Normally, if you weren't reading the Bible, you would say that you're hallucinating. If I didn't know that this was supposed to be holy smoke, right? Right? The Holy Ghost. And if I read this, I would say somebody been smoking something or getting high. But it turns out that that's really part of their early thinking and faith,
Yeah.
right? Oh, what's a saw? A saw beats them up all the time with the doodle, right? Mixing stuff. But yeah, so Joey Solomonic TV, that was crazy, right? So now we know why it's called pot. And I guess the usage of this stuff, recreational usage, de-stressing is one thing. But when you're mixing this with religion, you get the first high. They created the high priest. They created the most high, right? They created the Holy Ghost. They created the concepts like the burning bush, right? I mean, Family, talk about it with Morpheus while I go and take this call. All right?
I'm reading some of the comments. Who's this? Kwame says, smoking that Yahweh pack tonight. My brother said, yo, I'm smoking that Yahweh. All right, I'm reading some of these comments. Who's this? My man Heretic said, Cottonmouth, or is it potty mouth? Oh, wow. Wow. So we got Vernon, the bacteria called Wuteria found in certain yogurts induce oxytocin. In the Bible, it was believed that curd yogurt made one a better person. I think you just worded it wrong, but I understand what you're saying. Uh, yeah. So the priest, Vernon said, priests recognized the nutrients played a role in renewing and making one holy. Only problem with that, Vernon, is that this is not talking about nutrients. It's referring to psychedelics and hallucinogenics is what they were using. Says nothing at all about the nutrients, right? Not at all. We literally referring to psychedelics and hallucinogenics. Okay. Um. Yeah. My brother Kwame Matrot says researchers found evidence of the use of cannabis mixed with animal dung at a 2007-year-old shrine to tell her. Yeah, this is what we're talking about right now, brother. Right? That's exactly what the show is about in discussing this, and we wanted to bring it to the family's attention, so we can conversate about it. You know what I mean, and just get better understanding of what took place um, in the ancient world, what took place in the ancient world, and the rituals, and what was in an ancient world, and the rituals that was practiced, and the properties and things that were used, and could they have been uh, influenced? Could the what they call divine revelations, or what they refer to in religious circles as like I said, divine revelation, could they have been influenced? Yes, they could have been influenced. So then now, like I said yesterday, you got to ask the question now: is if it's possible that they were taking psychedelics, and the evidence does point to that, and the evidence does show that, right, clearly, right? Then how do you know, or how can you tell the difference between a psychedelic trip, a hallucination due to the chemicals, or something that was really divine, or something that was actual, or actually, you know what I mean, supposedly coming from a deity, right? How could you tell the difference between those two? Interesting thought, right? Very interesting thought. So, this is what we bring it to the forefront to the family so we can discuss. At some point, we're going to open up the drop a link so you can possibly jump on and give your 2 cents, your thoughts, share your thoughts about it. But the evidence is the evidence. The evidence is what it is. Well, so now that makes you have to now think about what I'm reading when I'm reading these stories by these authors, right? Were these authors who's conveying these ideas, messages, or whatever, and were they under the influence when they got them, received them? Because, like I said today, when you get a chance, you can look up people who's had DMT experiences, and all of them. And I'm not bullshitting. Every single one, on a professional level to a layman level, all of them describe the same experiences, very same experiences of meeting entities, meeting deities, meeting gods, or whatever they call them. But at the end of the day, meeting, what they call, that so were they doing that? Right, because these are the same chemicals. Same exact chemicals. Same exact chemicals. So that's my thought. Um, let
Okay,
me
I'm
get
back.
all right, bro.
So I'm back, and I'm just trying to find a window in which I can get on. So give me a second to see if I can. I'll
Yeah,
try.
so I'm reading some of the comments.
Okay, I'm trying.
Solomon funny. I saw they were burning doodle with the Zara. Oh man.
What happened? I got broken. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey.
Okay, so for some reason I can't show my camera, and I got too
Yeah,
much.
yo, I think people gonna start using that term now for weed. Like, yo, man, I'm smoking that Yahweh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the Hebrews, they could start selling Yahweh packs, right? They can. I'm talking about our community of Hebrews, right? Because they're the ones who pushing it. They're the ones who's pushing it from us, right? And they have all of these videos for the last 6-7 years gaining traction in our community on believes that they go to the King Version of the Bible, and I'm not talking about all Hebrews. I'm not talking about people that that read the Torah. I'm talking about the so-called Black Hebrew Israelites.
Yeah,
Uh,
why they never talk about that, Reg? Why they never brought this up, Reg?
I'll tell you in 1 second. So, ladies and gentlemen, please support my guest, Brother Morpheus. I have I'm gonna put the Cash App in, a strong card. He was able to give me a donation, and I so appreciate it. But
Peace, peace.
what we're trying to do is give you a tool, right? We're trying to change the narrative and make them accountable, right? So the issue is they can't get away no longer trying to make this stuff true, right? And then at the same time disrespecting other cultures and faiths, in particular Africa. They can no longer get away with this, right? Because they've been smoking on that path. So this is devastating, Brother Morpheus, right?
That's what I brought. That's why I brought it to you. That's exactly why I presented it to you.
Right. So this is probably the biggest thing. It seems like it's light, but when they're mixing their God, right, and there's hallucinogens, and they're doing it often in temples to connect with their divine, like the video said, we have to ask: is it a natural process of connecting with the Most High, or do you have to be the Most High to connect with the Most High? Huh?
That's a beautiful play on words. I love it.
No. And, I mean, and so the clouds come next, right? Like, do you have to associate with him from a cloud, right? What's in that cloud? So this is all Morpheus, this family, this is messed up. This is really devastating because now we can't separate. Before we had to separate, is this true with history? Now it's even more devastating because now can we separate it from the hallucinogens?
Mm. Yep. That's why I asked the question. How do you now tell the difference? Right?
That's right. So
How do you distinguish?
no, you can't.
Nope.
Morph, you cannot now because this
Nope.
is the first high, right? And the worst thing is they got potty mouths, right? So because it's on pot, right? It's how can I say it's on dung? Because they have potty mouths, right? So its spirit, Morpheus, is it real or is it chemically induced?
Mm. Yep. Yep. Exactly. That's why I thought, and when I ask this question, people, this is questions that before I ask a question, uh, verbally, I always ask myself these questions. These are things that I fought with myself, within myself, and I said, how do you distinguish? How do you tell the difference between something that's real and something that you believe is real? That's a real powerful, you know what I mean, deep question. How do you tell the difference, right? Between that. If I'm getting high and I'm on an LSD trip or a DMT trip, right? And all those experiences and things that you experience while under that seem real to you. They are actually real to you in that person's mind. You understand what I'm saying?
But it's dangerous because it's not the common people that are manipulated, right? It's the high priest, right? And so they are the ones that's exposing this concept, and the only prohibitions is excess, right? But how do you know if you're being overdosed, right? So you take Christoph, he says they wrote the highest selling book about the Most High from the high priest, right? Right? As they needed to speak to the Holy Ghost, right? Because it's chemically induced, and you feel that there's ghosts, there's angels, there's gods, there are what's the other word that they call them? And then you get to the point, if you have a bad high, you're gonna produce a devil. If you have a bad high, say what?
Yeah, a bad high, you can have a bad trip.
And then so the bad comes in. So now you can say that the devil.
I went to hell.
I went to hell. I went to hell. And all of this seems, do you understand, family? All of this seems to be linked to a chemical. And then when you take a particular drug, it has a particular effect on the human body, right? So anybody that's taking a DMT, right, or a THC, right, they're gonna face highs and lows. The lows is the devil, and the highs is the most high, right? Now, make this make sense, family. Make it make sense how people have been claiming that these things in this book are real, like the burning bush. But then when you got hallucinogens, but when you have hallucinogens, you have Moses going up in the cave, going up around there with a bag of dung, because he want to keep warm anyway, right? And with a Yahweh pack, right? And
Hold on. What you call it? You call it a Yahweh pack?
yeah, Yahweh pack. So he's going up there because that's what it is. It's a pack to have a conversation with Yahweh. And so they're going up there with the Yahweh pack, right? Putting it on the dung, but that's part of the pack. And then he's catching a crazy contact because he's in a cave, and he hallucinates, and he sees a burning bush, and because of the DMT, he thinks he's talking to God. Do you understand? Interesting.
Yeah. Do you understand the indications of this, people? It's like, are y'all really taking this in? Are y'all really grasping what's going on here? That's what I want to know. Are y'all really understanding what's happening?
I don't think they are. I think. Listen, family, I'm having mic problems. I don't know what it is in my streaming channel, but I'm having mic problems. So I'm hoping at least you get clear, and then you get a buzz. And I don't want to go out and go back in. So you have to excuse me for this. But no, I'm honest. I don't know if the family really understands. But anyway, I have another break. So family, please support this. Please support the show. I mean, I know I'm helping you. I'm giving everybody else who the Hebrews have bullied, right? Everyone that the Hebrews have bullied, I am giving a tool to stop the bullying. I am bullying the bully, right? By bullying the bully, please support the show. Because I have something that Morpheus gave me, a tool that they can't get around. You can't, can they get around this, family? Right? They can't get around the fact that somehow the beginnings of their religion, their concepts, was tainted by hallucinogenic type drugs that give you exposure and feelings that aliens, deities, angels, and the devil is real. So when Moses went up into that cave with his Yahweh pack and he threw it on the doodle and he lit it up and he was there by himself contemplating for days, I could see why his hair turned another color. I can see why he came down as a totally different man, right? Because there's another part to this, Morph, right? What we didn't cover yesterday was that in other temples, they found other substances.
That's right. That's right.
And what is that substance that they found, Morph?
The MAO, Mayo.
Mayo. So
And what else? And they found opium. Yes, let me say it again. Opium.
Opium. Wait, first. Wait, hold on. So you got the THC. You got the DMT. Now you got the basically what they call hash. I showed you a picture of it. The resins, right? The high potion. The resins. And another thing, before I even go to the opiates, is that did you hear the video where the anointment was made with cannabis, which is really probably cannabis? And so most of you people who are getting that little oil, if it ain't got the cannabis in it, right? The cannabis in it, it didn't work. It didn't work. It got to have.
It gotta have all the ingredients, bro.
If you don't have the ingredients, it don't work. So to find out that they're having the skin absorb this, right? Thinking it's going to go right into your brain. It's doing two things. You're close to God, right? By hallucination. You have all of these kind of like so-called effects, which you call spiritual, but they're chemically induced. Then you come up with these stories, and then everybody in the room got a contact. And so everybody says, yeah. Yahweh, L. And all of this is chemically induced. You're going to have to work triply hard to unfix what we are unveiling tonight. The introduction of the lazy king. You are going to have to work triply hard because guess what? May 29th, 2025, from research in roughly 2020, you have been exposed to a devastating problem that you can't get around. Because the minute that you mix these substances, so what are we going to do right now, Morph? So we're going to look up what is this paper that you have on opium. So now watch this. Their plug is not in. They're getting this stuff from trade.
Yep, through trade.
Around the Mediterranean, right? And so you go into places as far as Turkey, and Turkey got some crazy hash out there, right? And then you're going as far as China and Russia, possibly. So that means let's talk about not the religion, but let's talk about your chemically induced mind has you got to go to a plug outside of your nation to get substances that make you more comfortable with the Most High.
Reg, you see these type of comments that I said earlier today that I didn't want to deal with? William said they did drugs in Kemet. that's like, mommy, aren't you telling your brother he did it too? It wasn't just me. He did it too. But we're not talking about Kemet. This discussion, people try to stay focused. We're not talking about Kemet. We're not talking about.
Yeah, there's a free to do a show on Kemet, right?
Yeah.
But we are talking about Telerod. But I'll tell you one thing, Vernon, my good brother Vernon. He's my brother. Hey, Vernon, you don't create writing when you're high. You don't build pyramids when you're high, right? You become lazy using these type of drugs. They didn't create writing. They really barely learned to write to about the 8th century. They were one of the last groups to be of writing. That's why you have no the Sinaitic script. All of this is scribble scrabble.
Yo.
Yes.
I saw Imkar said Israel snitching.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm snitching on the Most High. Because all of these words now have a whole new meaning. Because they can't separate the highness. I'm not talking about the measurement. I'm not talking about the measurement, the distance. I'm talking about the chemical reaction.
So they can't separate the highness from the divineness. Huh?
Right. You can't separate the divineness, right, that you say from the highness. And so, you know what? The audience has been messed up over the last, 6 to 8 years, right? And it's like what you always say, Morpheus. We have the wrong arguments. And that means we look at the wrong things, right? Wrong audience, wrong things. If you want to so let's talk about things like Adam and Eve. You really got to be high to say. Think about it. You really got to be really, really high, hitting the pipe, hitting the bong, for you to say that women weren't around. Women had no power, right? You really, 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 right, have to be really high to discount the women. You have to be super high to write the stuff that's in Deuteronomy, right? The laws, you got to be way, way high selling your daughter.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, you definitely got to be zonked out.
Yeah. So let's just talk about our obligations to knowledge, right? Your obligations to the knowledge is if you disagree with anything that I said or Morpheus says, if you disagree with any of that, your obligation is to disprove all the things that we said. We don't have to argue. Show us your writing. Show us, like we do, show us that you can cite. Show us that you could research. Don't bamboozle me with your costumes. You know, one group got blue colors, another group got green colors, another. Don't do that. That's not what's on the table. What's on the table is you converts who converted to these faiths. You're trying to push it to us as if it was real. Now we find out that it was the first high. Sit in your own dung because you definitely put that pot on that dung and smoke that Yahweh pack. Sit in your own stew. Get smarter. Don't be reactive. Now, if you do want to talk to Kemet, we can talk about Kemet on another show. But first, you got to get through this show. And then we can talk about the Himnetchers and where's the evidence that they were getting high? Where's the evidence, right? Oh, you see the Blue Lotus. Fine, I got that. But let's get through the fact of the matter is that you have a temple where they are mixing. It's like heroin. You got the heroin on one side and you got the cut on the other side, right? And then you got the needle, right? Well, this is like Nicky Barnes, right? Nicky Barnes' innovation was taking a quarter pure heroin and then taking a quarter of cut, mixing it together to have 2 quarters and hitting the streets with it. So you have the same cut. You have one part cannabis, you have the other part frankincense, and then you are burning it on the pig dung. And then years later, right? Thousands of years later, African people get connected with these stories, right? And they find themselves in the transatlantic slave trade. And they're robbed of everything that they have, and they're giving these things. And then you have F.S. Cherry and Crawley just simply saying that we are the Israelites. So if you are the Israelites, then you smoke that Yahweh pack.
That Yahweh pack is a mother, bro.
Right?
I mean, you know what? I mean, you really have to accept it for what it is, okay, people? You may not like it. You may not like what we're presenting and showing the studies and research on and discoveries. You may not like it, right? And you know, you try to gotta spin some type of hermeneutic on it or whatever, but it is what it is. You gotta accept it for what it is. It's like this is what they did in the ancient world. You know what I mean? In the ancient world, this is what they did. And the Hebrews is not excluded. They're not excluded.
They're not special. The problem is what we're saying is now when you layer history on it, you layer archaeology on it, they're not special. The thing about it is converts have tried to make them more special than everybody else. So that's why I don't really deal with the comments of the people of a particular culture in Africa use the Blue Lotus right? I don't deal with that because I'm not pushing Kemet spirituality on you. That's why maybe I have low views. So let's get to this. My good brother, Asar Khan, sent me one a donation tonight, right? I'm giving you something that other people are going to use, right? I'm using my time. I got my special guest, Morpheus, and we only got one Cash App, right? I did put up my PayPal. Yesterday, I got two Cash Apps. One for my main man, Tony Macaroni. Fly his name on YouTube, right? And RL, right? And I could just tell you, for the two shows that we did, it's only roughly less than $60. And I'm giving you a tool to get the monkey off your back, right?
Hey, Ray, how many people we got here?
I don't know, but you emailed to Facebook.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because I was gonna suggest for people who may have been late coming in to play that presentation again.
Oh, because then you know what? We can play it and we can kind of like unpack some things as it goes. But first, let me see how many people are on. So let me do this. Anybody on YouTube can tell me how many people watching? How many people watching? And so I know the hustle is on. I know that you're getting finessed and finagled. I know that you are, because you would go to other channels and be, yeah, that's powerful. No citations, no new research, right? A baby can look it up. But you come to this show and you meet the mind of Mr. Morpheus, right? And the mind of Mr. Morpheus is that he asks questions that are not in, that's important to the Bible or the Torah, but have been scrubbed from it. And you get that. And guess what? It gives you a lifeline, right, of common sense, right? I mean, we've seen the craziest things and the craziest statements, how old the earth is, based on the chronology of the same people, right, who have hallucinogens. And we're supposed to believe that the earth is what, 6,000 years old, right? That it's that it's flat, that it's a cylinder, right? I mean, that it has a shell on it, right? That there's multiple heavens. You only get to these concepts by smoking that Yahweh pack. Okay, so I'm off. The problem is we only have about 8 to 10 people watching, so that's why. So
Oh, that's all. Okay. All right, people. Like the show. Share the show. And we're trying to grow the channel because we're going to be bringing a lot of interesting things on. So please share the channel on Facebook, Instagram with your friends or whoever it may be. Please share, please.
okay, so what we do is because not too many people is on the show, right? But I appreciate the 10 people that is watching, and is I so appreciate you. People are going to steal my information, steal Morpheus information, and the stealing is not the problem. The problem is misappropriating the arguments and not giving credit to the authors of it, That is the problem. And more people are going to watch this show. But I think that we've built up this whole audience of being Christians, seeing all these debates, right? But none of this stuff you can prove. Morph. When we get a chance to unravel this, right? But I mean, when we get a chance, but it bothers me when you see these shows and you see hundreds of people on, and you see the Clubhouse on, and morph. They can't prove anything that they're saying. But you got people watching it. Right?
Yep.
Now,
lining up for it.
Now, respect to Garfield, respect to Ankh, respect to Camdyverse, respect to my brother Joey and his show Solomon TV, right? Respect to them. I work with them. I appreciate them. But I also find that there are lots of people on some of these other shows, and maybe they just need company. Maybe they like the crowd. But the fact of the matter is, when your children ask these questions, and let's say somebody finds out about this show and says, "Hey, Daddy and Mommy, did the early Hebrews, Moses, did they get high?" No, of course they didn't get high. Well, you're doing a disservice. You're doing a disservice because you don't know, and two, you don't want to research to find out if it's true. If the story itself, for example, nowhere can you find Moses, right, before roughly, I'm going to say, people say the 4th century. I'm going to say 8th century, 8th century BC is the time period that we're in right now, part of it with Tel Arad, and nowhere can you find Moses. You can't find Moses anywhere written about until later. Did y'all know that?
No, they didn't know that.
Right. Moses, you can't find him in the Elephantine Papyrus, right? You check on Garfield's show. You can't find Moses talked about by the so-called Hebrews that's in Elephantine back in Egypt, right? You can't find Moses. You can't find Moses. You know when you find Moses? You find Moses when the Greeks start talking about him. Did y'all know that? We could do a whole show on that. You don't find Moses until the Greeks start talking about Moses. Right? You're on that Yahweh pack. What we're trying to do is give you some surprise. So, Morpheus, I'm not going to fight it, but I'm going to leave a record. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this video again, and and then do me a favor. If you see something that you want to say something, tell me stop so I can stop it. All right? Is that fair?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go.
Okay, let's go. And we're sober when we're doing this. Okay. Anything that you see that's interesting, just tell me. You know how you do. Stop. There you go. So let's bring this up. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to slow this down.
The ancient Hebrews used cannabis and entheogens at the start of their religions. Does it matter? It should, if you are trying to prove your faith. Recent archaeological and scientific discoveries have significantly challenged traditional understandings of early Yahweh worship in ancient Israel and Judah. The identification of psychoactive substances, particularly cannabis, in ritual contexts at sites such as Tel Arad provides compelling evidence that entheogenic experiences, altered states of consciousness induced by psychoactive plants, were integral to official cultic practices. This paper synthesizes archaeological findings, textual analysis, and expert commentary to argue that the foundational experiences and beliefs of early Yahweh worshippers were shaped and at times generated by deliberate entheogen consumption. These insights called...
Did y'all hear that? Let me run that back. Let me run that back.
The Yahweh worshippers were shaped and at times generated by deliberate entheogen consumption.
Shaped, right? Shaped, and this is integral to their practices. And at this time, it was cultic, meaning it was small groups. Wow.
These insights call into question the historical reliability of early Yahweh accounts as literal fact and demand a
Okay, I gotta get Morpheus back in the stream. Right. That's why he didn't say stop. So he's let's get him back in the stream. So while he's getting back in the stream, right? It's integral to official cultic practices. Let's see what's happening. Okay, there he goes. Sorry. I don't understand why. Morpheus, if you're out there, try to get back in. Let me wait 1 second. Let me see if I can. There you go. No, yeah. So let's go. Yeah. Morph, can you hear me? You got to come back out and come back in. Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these substances go hand in hand with early Hebrew culture.
the historical reliability of early Yahweh accounts as literal fact and demand a reevaluation of the origins and nature of Israelite religion. Counter-arguments, including apologetic justifications, are addressed and systematically dismantled in light of current evidence. For centuries, the history of Yahweh worship has been reconstructed from biblical texts, interpreted as records of divine revelation and communal memory. However,
so what they were sitting on, that these were ancestral oral traditions, right? And that was the basis, so it had to be true. But now science comes in, and science looks in and finds another ingredient to add to this issue, right? And to their cultural memory. But this part of the cultural memory has been stripped away. Okay.
the discovery of cannabis and other psychoactive substances in ancient Israelite temples has introduced a disruptive dimension to this narrative. The evidence suggests that the ecstatic and visionary experiences at the core of early Yahweh worship were not solely the result of spiritual devotion or divine intervention, but were often chemically induced through ritual use of entheogens.
So it's chemically introduced by chemicals, substances, right? And that is devastating, and that is problematic. If that doesn't help you, I don't know what will help you, but I can tell you what you can do. What you can do, family, is you can hit the Cash App. There you go. That's what you can do, right? Because this video is out there now, right? You can use it, right? Point by point. I worked pretty hard to create this video from research.
Ari et al., 2020. Discovery and Analysis. A landmark study in 2020 documented the first known case of cannabis use in the ancient Near East in connection to Judahite worship. Residue from 2 altars excavated from an 8th century BCE shrine at Tel Arad, about 35 miles south of Jerusalem, was analyzed using advanced chemical techniques. The larger altar contained remnants of frankincense, while the smaller altar contained residues of cannabinoids such as D9-tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, cannabidiol, CBD, and cannabinol, CBN.
Okay, let me just go back.
While the smaller altar contained...
So it says, in every city of Judah, he, King Ahaz, made high places, I guess, smoke shops, to make offerings to other gods, provoking to anger the Lord of the God of his fathers. But he made high places to make offerings to other gods. And so this is in that, how can I say, these chemicals are in not just Yahweh culture, but other Canaanite culture.
And residues of cannabinoids such as D9-tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, cannabidiol, CBD, and cannabinol, CBN, the psychoactive compounds found in cannabis, Airy et al., 2020. The cannabis was burned atop dried animal, which burns at a relatively low.
This is what it looked like. There's the cannabis, it might have been chopped up, and there's the dung. It's stuck, connected as a fuel. And there's the smoke. And that's the ingredients to make you high, to create the most high, right? To stimulate the high priest, to create these stories, right? And this is all it right here. This is chemically induced.
Temperature optimal for vaporizing cannabinoids. This method demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of how to release the mind-altering properties of cannabis, indicating its intentional and ritualized use. Namdar and Ari, 2020. Cultic context. The Telerad Shrine was a state-sponsored, officially sanctioned sanctuary of the Kingdom of Judah, with structural similarities to the biblical temple in Jerusalem.
So in the holies of holies, the inner sanctum is where the high priest connected with the Most High, right? The Most High and the Lord, right, under a chemically induced ecstasy, so that they have a relationship with their deity.
The shrine's inner sanctum, or Holy of Holies, housed the two limestone altars where the psychoactive and aromatic substances were discovered.
In the holies of holies, smoking in the inner chamber.
The deliberate preparation and placement of these substances underscore their central role in cultic rituals. Airy et al., 2020. Frankincense, a highly valued imported resin, was likely brought via South Arabian trade routes, while cannabis may have been imported from regions as far away as southeastern Russia or China. Namdar and Ari, 2020.
So when you hear Namdar and Ari, those are citations, right? And I can pull up the paper. I can pull up one of the papers to show you. But that is when you cite your source. That's what happens when you cite your source, okay? So I'm citing my source.
Ritual function and intent. Cannabis was not used incidentally or medicinally, but as a deliberate psychoactive to stimulate ecstasy as part of cultic ceremonies. The method
So it's used to stimulate ecstasy in these ceremonies.
of burning cannabis with dung, the separation of frankincense and cannabis on different altars, and the sophisticated knowledge of how to induce a high all point to a ritual system designed to produce altered states of consciousness among priests and possibly worshippers.
Altered states of consciousness among priests and possibly worshipers. Namdar and Ari.
Dar and Airy, 2020. The Telerad Shrine is a scaled-down version of the biblical descriptions of the first temple in Jerusalem and was contemporaneous with it. Because the remains of the Jerusalem temple are inaccessible to archaeologists, Telerad and similar shrines are studied to infer the practices of the larger central temple. The findings at Telerad strongly suggest that similar rituals involving psychoactive substances may have taken place at the Jerusalem temple itself. Ari et al., 2020. Entheogens in work.
Okay, so what it is the echoing is because my mic is picking it up. So what I'm going to do is just try to turn off my mic for a while. I was hoping that Morpheus was going to quarterback. I'm going to play it. If you can't hear the sound, that means my speaker, my mic is picking up the video. So press 1 if you could hear the video sound while I'm playing. Otherwise, I have to use my mic.
World religions. The use of psychoactive substances in religious rituals is well documented across cultures and throughout history. Psychedelics, including psilocybin mushrooms and cannabis, have been central features in shamanic and pre-modern ritual practices worldwide, used to induce spiritual presence, visions, and perceived transformation. Ruck et al. On 2001. Entheogens in ancient Israelite religion. Scholars have identified the plants likely found in Old Testament rituals, such as manna, showbread, the holy ointment, and tabernacle incense, as entheogenic agents. The psychoactive significance of these preparations enabled the priestly caste to have direct experiences of their god, with plant synergisms deliberately employed to produce entheogenic experiences. Ruck et al. 2001. Moses himself has been interpreted as an entheogenic shaman with features of his encounters, such as the burning bush, suggesting possible use of psychoactive plants. Ruck et al. 2001. Biblical references to entheogens. Kanebosum. Traditionally translated as calamus, this term appears in Exodus 30:23 as an ingredient in the holy anointing oil. Some scholars argue it refers to cannabis, whose psychoactive properties were harnessed in ritual anointing and incense. Ruck et al. 2001. Frankincense, repeatedly mentioned as a key ingredient in incense offerings in the temple. Exodus 30:34, Leviticus 2:1-2. Its presence alongside cannabis at Tel Arad confirms its ritual use. Ari et al. Shaks 2020. Mandrake, a plant with hallucinogenic properties mentioned in Genesis 30:14-16 as a fertility aid, hinting at its ritual significance. Ruck et al. 2001. Prophetic and priestly visions. Biblical passages describe priests and prophets experiencing ecstatic states, often interpreted as visions or direct encounters with the divine. For example, Isaiah 28:7-8 critiques priests who reel in vision from strong drink, suggesting that altered states of consciousness were a recognized aspect of religious life. Ruck et al. 2001. Apologetic claim 1. Entheogens were medicinal, not ritual. The discovery of cannabis residues on altars in Tel Arad's Holy of Holies confirms their ritual, not medicinal use. The cannabis was mixed with animal dung to optimize slow burning and inhalation, a method designed to induce psychoactive effects. Medicinal use would not explain its placement in a restricted cultic space or its deliberate preparation for inhalation. Namdar and Ari 2020. Apologetic claim 2. The Bible condemns intoxication. While passages critique abuse, such as Isaiah 28:7-8, these criticisms target excess, not regulated ritual use. The Tel Arad shrine was an official state sanctuary, implying its practices were sanctioned. The Hebrew Bible lacks explicit prohibitions against entheogens in worship, and references to cannabism suggest psychoactive ingredients were integral to holy rituals. Ruck et al. 2001. Apologetic claim. Altered states undermine spiritual authenticity. In antiquity, entheogens were seen as sacred tools to transcend ordinary consciousness. The divine encounters described in Scripture, burning bushes, heavenly chariots, and prophetic visions, may reflect pharmacologically facilitated experiences, not objective miracles. Ruck et al. 2001. Apologetic claim. Tel Arad is an outlier. Tel Arad's shrine was a state-sponsored temple modeled after Jerusalem's first temple, indicating its practices were mainstream. Comparative evidence from the broader Near East reinforces this, with other psychoactive plants such as acacia, containing DMT, and mandrake also used in ritual contexts. Ruck et al. 2001. The use of hallucinogens shifts the paradigm of divine revelation from supernatural intervention to human-engineered experience. If Yahweh's presence was accessed through psychoactive rituals, it implies that divine encounters were facilitated by human action, not granted by divine grace alone. The Bible's silence on entheogens likely reflects later redactions during reforms that sought to erase practices deemed heterodox, Ruck et al. And 2001. The integration of cannabis and other entheogens into early Yahweh worship fundamentally challenges the factual basis of Israelite religious history as traditionally understood. Archaeological, textual, and anthropological evidence converge to reveal that ecstatic and visionary experiences at the heart of early Yahweh worship were often induced by psychoactive substances. Counter-arguments based on biblical silence, presumed prohibition, apologetic rationalizations, or claims of isolated practice do not withstand scrutiny. This realization compels scholars to re-evaluate the origins of Israelite religion, recognizing that its foundational beliefs and narratives may be better understood as products of ritualized, chemically facilitated encounters with the divine, rather than as literal historical events. Ari et al., 2020, Ruck et al., 2001. The new evidence from Arad shows for the first time that the official cult of Judah, at least during the 8th century BC, involved hallucinogenic ingredients. This was not a fringe practice, but a state-sanctioned ritual. Der Eranarie, keywords: Yahweh, Telerad, cannabis, entheogens, apologetics, revelation, ritual, hallucination. References: Ari E., Namdar D., and colleagues. 2020. Cannabis Use in Israelite Worship. Journal of the Institute of Archaeology of Tel Aviv University. Ruck, C.A.P., Bigwood, J. Staples, D. Ott, J. and Wasson, R.G., 2001. Entheogens in the Old Testament. Journal of Psychedelic Studies, 324360.
Okay, Reg.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, this app kept kicking me off.
Yeah, I don't know why. Just one of those days. We did well the other day, but not today. So maybe because of the video was playing or something, I can't call it. But nevertheless, so family, this has been show number 2. Guess what? I have the Christian experience. We can test to see if the Greek, Persian, Palestine period was influenced by even more drugs for more chemically induced effects. And so y'all stay tuned for that. Morph, any last comments, and let's see what the people have to say. And I'm thankful for the people that hung out with us. Listen. People are free to watch whoever they want to watch, and if people are saying don't watch Brother Reggie's shows, because I have over I don't know, for this thing I have close to 4,000 subscribers, right? YouTube might be playing games like they play with everybody else, where they don't necessarily notify the people, but I guess people will eventually watch the video, so I'll get my numbers up. But I have a whole nother part to this on the Christian experience. More, what do you think about?
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to dig into that part. I really can't wait to dig into that part. That's going to be good.
Yeah. So the difference is that the work that we do is we're not doing feel-good shows, right? We're doing information shows. And you could rebut the information, but for the last 2 shows, if I haven't seen any good rebuts of the information that's being shown. Crazy, right?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, they can't. I mean,
It's a
you
problem.
can't. It's a problem. It's problematic. It's absolutely problematic, and you can't just rebut it, because you don't like it. You know what I mean? You don't like it. It hurts, or it's going against your whatever. You can't. Nope, 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 nope. Can't do that.
No, luckily, and then I have there's other people that call me up, and they call you up. They're friends of yours, and they call you up, and they are, how can I say, much more qualified, right, than some of the viewers that just watch these shows for entertainment. So shout out to Jedamonk Hekare. He is going to be presenting at the ASOR conference. One of the few people that look like us, right, presenting at a major Egyptological Near East conference, and a really good friend of mine. And he took me to the conference last year, where he presented it. And the conference is very expensive. You don't get into this conference without paying $600. You got to pay the membership, and you got to pay conference fee, $600. So I was able to go with him. Him and his family and his group made sure that I got there.
That was the one in Boston, right?
Yeah, that was in Boston. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And he did excellent. And this year he's going to do another piece. And so, yes, there's this crazy YouTube world where, it's hard to read the audience. I got that. But there's a professional world of people who actually do the work. Then there's the people, content creators, who borrow other people's work to create content on their sites, right? I got that. There are people who actually do really well more without live streaming. I happen to live stream for the interaction, because I think when I live stream and we live stream, then we can answer questions. I always wonder why lots of people don't come on my show to ask questions. But I look at some of the other shows and people are willing to jump on. Maybe because I don't know you or me, we're not going to tolerate or let them get away with stuff without sources. What do you think?
That's right. That's right. That the sources is um kryptonite. That shit is kryptonite. you know.
So so we hear these words, source up or shut up. A lot of the material on here that we see on YouTube is not sourced up, right? I'm not trying to make anybody happy, but there's a difference between you, me, right? Sean Ka that comes on, Cam Diverse, Smash Rockwell, right? Our stuff is almost always sourced up. But then the problem, I get into arguments with people who want me to believe what they have to say, but they don't show any evidence. But I could say this, Morpheus, this show right here, it's going to change the dialogue. I can't hear you. I don't know why.
Yeah. I'm muting myself when you're talking, so no feedback comes back on. That's why.
Yeah. So this video right here, that's why I had to clean it up from the last time to make it a little bit more visibly aesthetic, right? But guess what?
You did a beautiful job. I thought it was it was very professional, very put together well.
Yeah, it really only took me, believe it or not. I just took our research and I just put it in the engine, and I just finessed the engine, and I have a better show. right? Have a better
Awesome.
quality too, huh?
Awesome. Awesome.
And so what we do is more thanks for joining me, man. We're gonna keep building up the channel. And everybody's on there, just do me a favor. If you can't donate, like and share the video, right? Like and share the video, right? That would be a really, really great thing to get my analytics up. And soon I'll be able, I'm real close to getting my
Can I ask, brother Vernon, why do you keep bringing up Egypt? You just dropped another comment about Egypt. Like, why do you keep pivoting to Egypt? This is like the fifth, sixth time that I've seen you pivoting to Egypt. Why are we pivoting the conversation to Egypt?
So, okay, so it's real simple. Vernon, show me a source from a journal that said the Egyptians used cocaine. No, you say there's plenty evidence, but give me a source. Give me a source that they use cocaine. But I tell you one thing, in this case, they're putting cannabis on top of probably hog manure and maybe not hog manure, cow manure, or maybe a mixture of cow and hog manure, but still putting and inhaling it with frankincense to maybe cover the smell.
Hey, can you do it, Reg?
Yeah.
Drop the link in. All right. I want Vernon to come on.
We'll do that. Give me a second. Where is the link to this? I'm laughing because, share screen. No, because this platform is still new to me, and I'm so used to using StreamYard. It's like using the Apple and the it's using the Apple or the PC.
Yeah,
Okay,
then going to Windows. Yeah.
Okay, Bernie, you're on. No, I don't want to end this. Bernie, you're on. The link is open to anybody. One thing that the material didn't say was they didn't get this usage from Egypt. Remember, Moses was learned from the Pharaoh, all the ways of the Pharaohs. They didn't get this from no scholar saying that they got this from Egypt, right? So now it's the cocaine issue, right? But I want to see a source on the cocaine. Check the book, The Cocaine Mummies. Okay, so that fails right there. Is that your only source? Can you show positively in the cocaine mummies that it was in fact cocaine and that it wasn't how can I say that the samples that they got, and why is it only the cocaine mummies and not all mummies? Why is it?
That cocaine mummy theory been debunked a long time ago, bro.
So it's probably like more like Brother Lau will say, there's a substance called cat. But the fact of the matter is, were they chewing the cocaine? They can't sniff the cocaine because they didn't have the ingredients to make a cocaine. See, that's the bad part of it. They didn't have the ingredients to make cocaine. Right. So there you go. Huh?
And that's the key. That's the key within itself. You cannot take cocoa leaves and define it as cocaine. There's a process to make cocaine from cocoa leaves.
Duh, right? When these people make these arguments, man, I'll be like, oh, come on, you serious?
It's a bad argument. So where
It's
are
a bad argument.
so So where is okay? So they show you in the jars, the barley. They show you the adhesives that they use for the mummy wraps. They show you all of that. How come I never seen a jar, right, with coca leaves? Can you show me any evidence of cocoa leaves in any of the thousands of tombs that they have? No, you can't. So what you do is to save your fake religion, right? And you have a right listen. Your religion may be beautiful to you, but you don't have the right. You have the right to your religion. You don't have the right to misinform our people based on you're making the point about cocaine, and all you can just do is show me the book.
No, Reg, it's worse than that. You gotta look at the argument. The argument is they did it too. Yeah, listen, that's the argument. When you put an argument up like that, the argument is basically, well, these people did it too.
Mhm,
That's the argument.
mhm. So now, can you show me cocoa leaves in Egypt and what it's called Egypt? Can you show it to me? Were they growing cocoa leaves? So, or you trying to say they got the cocoa leaves from Peru, right? Or you
I
saying that
hope,
they got
I
they?
hope that's not the case.
Well, no, that's the obvious case. Because show me cocoa leaves in Africa.
Hey, Reg,
Yes, sir.
they did it too.
No, they didn't. But one thing that we did not, what Africans did not do, is put that daggone imported uh, uh, cannabis on some hog feces and fumigate the room and come up with these crazy concepts of seas opening up, burning bushes, and things like that. Right? So the thing is, it was like on Kim on Trial. And so I don't know why they do that to me because I'm the author of Kim on Trial. I put the moving pieces together for Kim on Trial, right? Talked to Polite. Polite went to Egypt. I got Smash Rockwell. I got Uncle Keck, right? I even got Saw Him Hotel, right? Okay, I put it together. Uh-oh.
Oh,
Uh-oh. We got a big dude here. Saw and Kyle, how you doing?
I'm a top big brothers. How y'all doing?
Hey, well,
Yo,
you went to
my
Kemet.
my brother, Asar, what's goody?
Man, man, I'm
Hey,
trying to get rid of this damn cold. Uh,
where the cocoa
no,
leaves?
no, no. I'm
You
sorry.
went to you went to Egypt. You went to Kemet, right? Where the cocoa
yup.
leaves at? Why they
You
always?
know, I didn't see any poppy seed. Uh, it looked like they might say poppy to me because the facial expressions, but I didn't get to see no poppy seed. And I
What
know
about
they got drugs
cocaine?
over there because some of the
No, no, but I
and
want
they
to know
definitely wasn't.
ancient in any of the jars, in any of the museums, in any places. You see a jar of cocoa leaves?
When I was over there, it pisses me off. I really wish I had my old computer and USB ports. There's uh but there's little boxes of collected foods and different things that they use, cosmetics and stuff like that, in the top part of the Cairo Museum. Next to Lady Dawit, um her tub where they show her really dark skin and everybody else pasty. um if you look through those different resins, they're going to show you, and they're in different parts of the museum, they're going to show you all the stuff that they had a hold of. Cocaine was not one of those things. You're going to see some of the old bread. You're going to see grain. You're going to see the supposed cornbread, which they made out of that it's kind of like a cattail. You'll see all of that stuff over there, and they have grain. And I believe, well, I know if you really want some, I could get you like the hookup, like you'll be able to take some home, but no
So on the
cocaine.
oils, you have a whole collection of oils, right?
Yes, so
Any of those
I sent
oils
you
have,
some.
of course,
Some of the
that's
heck
what
you
I'm
knew.
talking about,
Yeah.
right? Does any of them have cannabis in them? No.
No, not at
Cannabis
all.
is not something that they use, right? Now, so Morpheus, Asar, Brother La, if that's all the brother can offer to save the fact of the matter is that there's archaeological findings of in those
You
temples of
you can't come you can't come with an argument of yeah, but they did it too. You can't do that, man. You can't do that.
And my thing, Morpheus, is this. First and foremost, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran, afwan, kif halik?
Alhamdulillah.
Shukran.
My thing is this. I just wish Vernon was on a panel because I just seen in the chat he put something stating that chewing cocoa leaves is also a who he says it's also hallucinating as
hallucinogenic?
well.
No, it's
Yes.
not. It's a stimulant. No, it's not. It's not hallucinogenic. It doesn't have those properties. Uh, that's a
My
big
thing,
fail. Huh?
yes. And my thing is this, and this was a conversation that me, you, and Morpheus just had. The discrepancy that a lot of people have is knowing the differences between products. When I say products, I'm talking about different drugs and the derivatives of what those drugs do. Cocaine is what you perceive as being an upper. It's going to have you vibrant, moving around, doing things of that nature. Whereas dope is a downer. Dope is going to have you nodding off, scratching, going to sleep, things of that nature. So my question, as I stated to you, Reggie, as well as to Morpheus,
Mhm.
if it was dope, when was they writing on the nod coming up or on the nod coming back down?
But see, the writing, the scribal work, right? You had to be how can I say, a very skilled person to be a scribe. You could not be on any downers, right? So that's where the arguments fell. So I can understand, Vernon, uh, brother, uh, you didn't show a source. You pointed to a source. Um, you're wasting our time. But I appreciate you being on my show, right? But
I
Vernon,
stand corrected.
I said
Reggie, I
it was
stand
a
corrected.
stimulant.
I stand corrected. Vernon said he did state it was a stimulant.
okay, but it's not a stimulant that makes you hallucinate uh, and have this connection with
It has no
alien.
hallucinogenic. It has no hallucinogenic properties at
It
all.
doesn't.
None.
So what we're talking about is that these early people used this to hallucinate and to get themselves closer to a deity, right? Yahweh. Uh, there are lots of reasons why people should take stimulants. If you've ever been to Africa, you better you if something's chasing you like a crocodile or a hippo, you better get on your good step, right? You better not be slow.
Yeah.
You better not be slow. If you're fighting another group of people, there's reasons to take stimulants, but it does not. Oh, now the Blue Lotus does. Now, um, what records do you have of the Blue Lotus? What records?
And also, ain't that peyote?
What?
If you putting the dung on the blunt, it sounds like they taking peyote, which is like, the stem. It's usually in cow
Yeah,
doo
yeah,
doo.
yeah, yeah.
It shows up
That's
in
exactly what
Arizona
it
often.
is.
That, you know what? That's a good point. That's a good point. I
That's a
didn't think
great
about that.
point. Yeah, that's a great point.
So
I can't pass you the blunt. That's what you're telling me, Verna.
no, but what happens is you grabbing for straws, you're just putting one-liners out there, right? But you show me a source on the intoxication and the effects of the blue lotus. That's your claim. So show it to me.
He said the same ones you have. We don't have any.
Hey, you know what? You know
We're
what?
empty
I'm
on.
not.
Guys, let me just say for the record, so the brother don't feel any type of way. Vernon, I apologize, brother.
No. I'm gonna say this,
If I
right?
if I misspoke, I
No, but
apologize.
listen. I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna argue or debate with a comment in the comment section. The link is there. If you want to, have a intellectual conversation, click the link and jump on, and then we could talk. But I'm not going to be going back and forth with a comment. I'm not doing that.
Well, yeah. So I'll end it there. I will end that conversation right there. Uh, um, it, I will say that these substances are in all cultures, but generally, what you want to do is you want to look at what these cultures produced, right? Now, producing stories and fantasies is different than producing temples, monuments, writing, right? Doing mathematics. Unfortunately, at this particular period, we don't have any of that uh, in the Levant. And the problem is that these people, you want to call them Hebrews, and I threw that out there, but you haven't proved that. You haven't proved that these people are, in fact, Hebrews. So the Yahweh worshipers, they come from Saudi Arabia, Edomites, right? They find themselves in the Levant, right? And
No, no,
areas of
Red, say what it was. Say what it was. So you
um,
was about to say Islam. They
no,
really not Hebrews. They really Muslims.
well, yeah, well, I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna say that they. If anything, they would have been practitioners of Fitra, right? But not Islam. I could never say Islam, or they were Muslims because the revelation wasn't revealed at this time, right? So I can never say that. But what I can say is that they didn't come from your story of Abraham, right? This Or Tadia, there's El and there's Yahweh. What these poor, they're not poor scholars, they're poor regurgitators don't know that El and Yahweh are two different deities that merged, two different groups. So so
Mhm.
Abraham, so Abraham is a Yahweh worshiper, or is Abraham a El worshiper? See, they can't answer those questions because they're confused and they don't know about when it was merged. They don't know how it merged, but I can tell
Nope.
you, Yahweh, we know where Yahweh comes from your story and from history, right? Jethro, he goes to Media, so-called in the story. He meets Jethro, right? There's burning bush, right? All of that stuff is in Media. That's in Saudi Arabia. Now, Yahweh is
See,
El.
and
Who said that? Who said Yahweh is El?
What?
they want to
Are you
connect them so
serious?
bad.
They just want to connect
They want to
themselves so
connect
bad.
them so bad,
Don't you know that Yahweh
man.
was a son of El? Don't you know that
Saber, you
El?
breaking up.
Can you hear me?
You breaking
Yes.
up.
What about now? Can
There
you
you
hear me?
go.
All right.
Yup.
Yahweh is a son of El. There's the El paradigm. There's the El. What do you call it? It's the El family in Yahweh. Yahweh
El
and Baal.
Shaddai, Canaanites. Yup.
Yeah,
El
but
and
what's funny about that is if you look at Exodus 6:3, right? Exodus 6:3 says, I appeared unto Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob as El Shaddai, but by my name Yahweh, I was not known to them.
Mm. Mm.
so
Oh,
that, but
And just so you can do a little further research, your American drugs and Egyptian mummies. German scientist Svetla Balabanova, 1992, and two of her colleagues reported findings of cocaine, hashish, and nicotine in the Egyptian mummies from America.
wow.
Stop being sloppy with your drugs. So,
That's
yeah,
exactly my point. Don't be sloppy with your drugs. Just say no.
Oh man. I'm telling you, the phrase for tonight for me is the Yahweh pack. Yo, Reg, you won with that one. the the Yahweh pack, yo. Yo.
it wasn't me.
yeah, me
It was
talking over
my
here
brother
with
Nicholas. Yeah, you on the. He's confused about whether he should get on the Yahweh pack or the El pack. He doesn't know that El is the father, right? His sons are Baal, and don't you understand? His sons are Baal and Yahweh. Yahweh's the storm god. Um, how can I say Baal? He's also a Canaanite god, right? Don't you know that? It becomes embarrassing if you don't know that, right? So Baal is stuck. I mean, El is stuck in Saudi Arabia until his people can defeat the Moabites, right? So when the Shashu of Yahweh, those groups of people defeat the Moabites, right? Then they can cross into the Levant. When they cross into the Levant, they find out these people are worshiping El, and they fuse. So yeah, so Yahweh takes El's position, but you are on the Yahweh pack, right? With the dung, and so you're not. How can I say it? Our people are not ready to deal with the Europeans, right? We're regurgitators, so we're not able to deal with the Europeans at all, right? We're just so stuck in our American slavery culture that we don't know how to research, don't know anything about the Levant, and were the Hebrews from Canaan? Because Canaan is cursed. Canaan is cursed, right? So, did let's say who made it to Moses?
Hold up. Wait a minute, Reg. Wait a minute, brother. You
Yes, sir.
said you said Canaan is cursed.
Yes, sir.
So are you trying to tell me that Yahweh gave the Israelites a cursed land?
No, it wasn't Yahweh because Yahweh is a son of uh, how can I say is a son of El, right?
So then, I'm asking, does the Israelite deity
Yes.
gave the Israelites a cursed people land,
Uh,
the land of Canaan?
Morph, they can't do 1+1, right? They can't understand that, and so that their whole land is a cursed land, and that they call Canaan, and they still call it Canaan.
Hold on, wait, hold on, let's take it a step further. So the Hebrew text, right,
Yes.
the alphabet, right,
Mhm.
is proto-Canaanite?
No, they're not going to say that.
No,
They
what
don't
does
know.
I'm talking about history. As
History
far as
says
history, that
it's Proto-Canaanite. Yes.
cool. So that means that their holy book is written in a cursed people's text language.
That's correct.
So wait. So we got a cursed people land and a
Mhm.
cursed language that their
And
holy book is written in,
and curse names,
and cursed names.
right? Because these are Canaanite gods. El is a Canaanite god, right?
Wait,
Uh,
wait, wait, wait. So they got a cursed deity, right? I mean, a Canaanite deity, right?
yes,
And their promised land is some cursed people land, right?
yes.
And their holy book is
Mhm,
written in some cursed people's language. Is that what
mhm.
you're telling me, Reg?
That's a Yahweh pack.
Hold on, we gotta.
Yeah.
Hold on, we gotta put the
Hold
top
on.
off on it, right? So
Get.
all of that and their law, which they only knew in Greek, had to be translated by the Egyptian Philo, who they call a Jew, though he's Egyptian.
Oh, come on, bro. Are you serious?
He's the only
Yeah,
one who knew Hebrew.
that's the only one that they say know who he knew Hebrew
But
Morpheus.
they
That's the
can't.
only one.
Listen. The what we learned today, what we learned is that there's hallucinogens, right, in this early period, and they seem to affect. They were psychoactive, and they seem to affect the mind. And so, some of these stories we don't have to deal with it historically. We have to look at it as chemical reactions, right?
And that's why you can't find. That's why we can't find a lot of this stuff historically. That's why that explains the reason why a lot of this stuff, right, cannot be verified historically.
That's there you go, more. Ladies and gentlemen, right? And those that don't be on the Yahweh pack with the dung, right? Morpheus just said it crisply. That you can't historically you can't prove it, right? And that was the problem. But now they have a second problem because we know now why they can't prove it because they was on the Yahweh pack. And it's not anti-Semitic scholars that are saying this. These are scholars in Israel that are saying these are the things that was found. And guess what? For them, they don't have a problem. You know who has a problem? The converts have a problem, but not
Elaborate,
scientists.
elaborate also on that, Reggie, is this. The reason why is half, if not, I would say mostly 85 to 90% of the Hebrew Israelites that you see coming on these channels and things of that nature don't even read nor write the language.
Not only that, I don't know of how many of them have GEDs, right? High school diplomas. What college?
I
Like,
mean, at this point now, this presentation that has just been done by yourself and Morpheus
yeah,
from yesterday
Morpheus.
to
Yeah,
today,
Morpheus and I joined the boat. This is Morpheus work. I just joined the boat. Go ahead.
I said to you guys before, this is not a headshot. This is the Marksburg 12-inch, 12 gauge. Put it in your mouth and blow your head off.
Like an
Information.
Akinelli record.
Yeah, it's problematic. It's really problematic. And you got to remember the research was out in 2020. 2020, right? 2020, the year 2020, this occurred because guess what? We have tools. So now we could analyze substances. And this is the problem because now science, they can't lie on science. See, without the tools, which these people don't know anything about, right? We couldn't know what was going on. Now it's even deeper because what we didn't even get to was the mayo and the opium, right, in the jars. So some of them were slumped over. This is part of the state culture. This is how they commune with their God, right? We all hear it as people who are devout, right, who are righteous. Not so much now. Now we have people with anxiety problems, right? The great Paul.
Man, call it what it is. Them niggas is fucked up, yeah. Call it what it is, man. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna soft shoe it no more. I ain't gonna tap dance. I ain't gonna no dogs. Dogs.
That's the point. Why soft shoe it? I was soft shoeing it because guess what? Moth is really a problem for them now, right? So I don't mind. I don't mind them borrowing this work and going viral with it, right?
Oh, you know that's gonna happen. You know that's gonna happen.
I don't mind that because guess what? There's sources to this, right? And it gets us closer to the truth and farther from the lie, right? And it helps wake us up, right? Out of the stupid state that we're in because we have to think. So they're gonna have to think to get themselves out of the fact that that this was the first high that created concepts that became biblical concepts. So things like Enoch, all of these, how can I say, they're beautiful stories, but they're just not real. And it brings them their situation further from the truth.
That's that trip, man. That's the trip, man.
Why? Why was it on the altar?
I know you heard me. Come on.
Why would it be in a place of you're worshiping?
You're holies to holies.
So how did it get on the altar? See, it's one thing to find it on a mummy, because if it was used by a mummy, which it wasn't, it was American drugs dropped on a mummy. Like we didn't watch American Gangster and know how that went down. But it's on your altar. So it's incriminating evidence. It's not like some tourist came in there
Right.
and got lit and then went to go see the rest of your temple. Your temple's not that big. It's like
Right.
it's on the altar and it's old. It's ingrained in the stone.
Yeah, because and the reason why it's ingrained because it was constantly burning. It was constantly burning. That's why they had the dung so that it would burn slow. You know what I mean? It would burn slow, constantly burning in the temples. So when the priests got in there, they became high priests. Right? So that's how they became the high priest, right?
Crazy.
This, oh,
Blue
this is
Lotus.
pretty
I can
horrifying.
explain Blue Lotus, right?
Brother Joey, I don't know why. Maybe you're having the same problem that Morpheus is, but if you have a weak connection, the program is not letting you come in. And so I see you coming in, and I'm letting you come in, but I never see you appear. So maybe your signal is not good right now. So with that said, my good brothers, this is my family right here. Asar Ka. Asar Ka is definitely my brother, right? Brother La is my brother, right? That's my every other day-to-day dude. Morph is my big brother, right? Look, we can't do no more. And guess what? It's dangerous to other people's content right now, right? Where the Hebrews barking and saying you're lying, the Most High is going to put you down. The Most High is high, right? Where are they, right? Oh, they don't want to give us the benefit of the argument. Well, the argument is here, right? You converts did not notice. You deceived the people, right? Because you didn't know it yourself. And a lot of this stuff comes out of hallucinations.
Well, I know next time they try to curse me or something, I'm gonna pass them a blunt. So
Yeah, exactly. He's like, yo, here, man, smoke on this Yahweh, yo. Hit this Yahweh. Hit this Yahweh and calm down.
Hit the Yahweh pack.
Yeah, hit the
this
Yahweh and calm
this
down, bro.
El should die.
You know, it just amazes me how people make more of themselves than they really are, right? So you see some of these characters, right? They're all experts. Last time I thought I got most of the people in the museums. Me,
Yeah.
right? That's where I met Asar Khan the first time in the museum.
Yeah.
Morpheus, I went to the museum with. Brother La, I went to the museum with. I don't see these jokers in museums and libraries.
At all. At all.
Right? And so you're not going to argue, you're really not going to argue with me. You could call me a whole bunch of names. You could be mad at me, call me fake Dr. Reggie, right? The fact of the matter is, I may be fake Dr. Reggie because that's some title, but you in the Yahweh pack and you're a convert, right? And you can't, if this was your true religion, right, your true faith, you would do a better job. Matter of fact, you would have been there. Only a few of them have actually been there. I mean, I shout out to Captain Tariak, he's been there, and General Yohana, he's been there, and I don't know. Has Zion Lex been there?
Yes.
So let me ask this question, right? Why is it that the Hebrew Israelites of today, right, are they not practicing what their predecessors practiced in their rituals and stuff? Why are they not practicing or following that? Because it's clear that that's what the ancient Israelites, Hebrews did. We have the evidence of that, right? Now I see them drinking, I see them getting drunk. I see the Hebrew Israelites getting drunk, right?
Leave that out.
Am I right? They're quick.
You,
They
you,
they're
you
quick
didn't,
to
you didn't
drink,
leave that
huh?
out. They never do these rituals here that you talk about on this, right? You mind if I share my screen?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So they never. This is the stuff Saber Morpheus is talking about. Women in Israel, right? And they were more powerful than what the biblical narration of them is. When we just go into the table of context. I've been through the book and it's got some parts in here. It's got statements that say they obviously copied ancient Egypt doing this. So, our brother Victor, you're definitely right, but you're not copying the right thing. We didn't do that part. Look, Wellhausen's critical evolutionary approach, the myth and ritual school. You have a whole school. You have a religion school. Okay, these are some of the things you leave out. Let's go a little further. Ashra means shrine. Your wooden image of the goddess. Where's your goddess image? Your Old Testament. You're supposed to be still doing this. Look, the cult symbol of Yahweh equals a deity. The stuff you forgot about. Remember your sacred tree? Remember you said it was living? You guys used to speak to it? Gave it theophoric names? What about your Canaanite goddess, the consort of Yahweh? Y'all never mention her anymore. What's going on? I'm an Old Testament Hebrew. I this, I that. Where's your figurines with the magic for a start day? Huh? You really want me to just take y'all apart if I go into the book and show you what you used to supposedly do? Tell Mesos, House 314, 167, 140, and 42, the cultic artifacts in women's livings and work areas. Right in the living room, you had these. Right in the living room. Summary of the interpretation of figurines. Yeah, you copied us. Down to the wire. The courtyard offering structures. This is where they found the residue at. And your pillar-based figurine model couch and miniature lamps inside. You were doing the same things as the soul houses, the Ba houses that we had in ancient Egypt. It made its way into Israel, and now you deny these things. You act like it's forbidden.
Hello.
That's weird, because this is your original stuff. Remember your lamp divination, just like we find in the other papyrus over here. We got lamp divination too.
Yeah, a little bit.
And the divine fire.
Mm-hmm.
So when they tell you that your Levite priest were doing the same thing as Kemet, it's true. But I don't have to pull none of this out ever on y'all. Y'all never ever become that strong. You don't even come that strong for me to have to go into this. Sacred text and divinity figurines for houses of Ugarit. The Lamashal charms as Ugarit. Man, there go your lion lady. All of come on, man. Let me stop.
Yeah. It's no sense for you to bring a tank to a park fight, right? you know what I mean? You like saying, yo, I don't even have to pull this out. Y'all not even worthy of this. It's like bringing a tank to a park fight.
Yeah. They're going to pull out some straws and spitballs, and this AK-47 going to come out. It's going to be a wrap. Y'all really just, well, at least you found evidence that the Israelites existed in Africa. No, that's actually not in Africa. See, there you go, trying to put stuff over the top. Now, when I gave you an Israelite in Africa, they wouldn't even accept him. Did y'all see Saber Reggie? You got this book, but nobody ever reads the book. It's the Hyksos burial sites. And in the burial sites, they show the brother, Min Yehuda. They show him right on his coffin. Where is he? I don't think I got it up right now. Matter of fact, I don't think I got it up. But they show him right in this joint. I'm pulling up my comic book stuff. That's how I know I don't got it up. Close that. Yeah, that snapped the plier. I thought I might have had it up. Nope. But if I pull that out, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Matter of fact, give me just a few minutes. Let me see if I could dig it up for y'all.
Yo, brother Law. Hey, Reg, you still there? Okay.
I think La fell off on us. Saber sitting back for a second. Let me dig this out. Once I dig this out, it's a wrap.
Reg said he frozen. Wow.
Oh, is
Oh man.
there it is. Hyksos and Israelite sites.
Yeah, we can't see.
Cities.
We can't see anything.
No, I'm about to
Okay.
pull it up for y'all. Hold on, let me get to the good part. That way y'all don't scroll all in your eyes like that. There you go, right there. All right, here we go. Let me pull up the book. So, well, damn, why you going? Now I gotta go scroll all the way down to it again. Here we go. Now they hate to use this, brother Morpheus, and I have no idea why. Because if you look at some of these
So
dudes,
we can't see your screen.
you can
Red
see
said he can't do anything right now. He's frozen. That's your Red.
he's freezing. Hold on.
Red. That's what was happening
Yeah.
to me all night.
So if you go in here, right? Look, you could tell he a brother. That's one of the stone figures from the temple.
We can't see.
You know, it's not
No,
sharing. I hit
no,
share. Oh, it
it's
said it's
not on
sharing.
your end. It's on Reg. Remember?
Oh,
Yeah, he frozen.
so he can't. Yeah, you're lucky for this, cause as soon as I go to the page, it's him right there. But when you go to his coffin, he made sure to let you know he black as ever. He looked like Heinz Ward a little bit.
Yep,
There you go. That's the top of his coffin. He got like his little.
Reggie is frozen. He can't share.
Can you come back into the stream,
Well, he's the host.
Saber? That's what I'm saying. If he come back into the stream,
Reggie saying good night, family. You got to shut down. Yeah.
all right, Saber.
All right,
More.
Fire Saber. Peace.